Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Nile Scala, with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Billy Tucci. Billy, how you doing tonight, brother?
Hello, old friend. How are you? I'm pretty gosh darn terrific. I got to tell you that.
How are ya?
Yeah, I'm working on a commission right now, which is coming out nice. It's Catwoman. Someone said artist choice, and I felt like drawing
Beautiful.
Catwoman.
Oh,
I
wow.
love what's her name? Jocelyn Jones. Is that her name?
Yeah,
Her
sure.
cat her Catwoman is unbelievable. Yeah, Jolie Jones. I'm sorry. She's amazing.
Yeah. What's she wearing?
Catwoman costume.
Ah,
What's she
jeez,
wearing?
come
What,
on.
what was she? See?
What is she wearing? I don't see anything there. I don't see nothing.
You don't see it? You don't see it?
What is that? Oh, beautiful. That's
So,
beautiful.
and she's having a little kitten, yeah?
Okay, guys.
Yeah, so I have to ink this tomorrow and ink a she commission tomorrow. And we got a script meeting and tons of stuff, my friend, tons of stuff.
Oh,
But anyway,
fantastic.
you know enough about me. Scala, how are you today?
I'm doing great, my friend. I'm happy. It's the happy hump day of the week. We got an
Yeah,
amazing guest tonight.
we have a
We got a
great guest tonight.
great guest tonight.
Someone we're a huge fan of.
Yes.
And how goes the new job, buddy?
Oh, it's going great, man. Freaking can't complain. Can't
And
complain. Life is
how am I?
good.
Good. How am I coming in? Because apparently I am looking right now. And for some reason, I seem. There you go. All right. Let's
You're
fix
auto
me there.
scaling, bro. You're auto
But anyway,
scaling.
listen. Crowdfunding centurions, crusaders, all across the fruited plain and this God's green earth. Tonight's guest has slashed his way through some stupid mutant beings, some stupid human beings, punched a, punched a steel man and walked away unscathed, and then kicked some zombie guy that was brought back to life with superpowers from the devil square in the balls. And he didn't even think twice about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we may, one of the California kids, one of the premier creators of the '90s, premier inkers, premier artists of mainstream comics, and now forging a new self-published empire, the bane of Marvel Comics, Mr. Art Thibert.
Hey, Art, how we doing
There he
tonight?
is.
I'm doing good, man. That was the best intro I think I've ever had in my entire life. Thank you, Billy, and thanks for having me now.
Oh, anytime, anytime. And that's a lovely introduction from the great Billy Tucci and our producer, Mr. Frank Amazing, the
Thank you.
infamous, mysterious Frank Amazing.
Yes, the mysterious Frank Amazing. Is Frank Amazing here or no?
Frank Amazing is in the chat. Yes.
He's in the chat though, but he's not in the studio.
He's not in the studio. He's working remotely, afar, on a hidden planet, my friend.
In an undisclosed location. Excellent.
Exactly. So, Art, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. How have you been this fine evening, sir?
Oh, today was a high point in the campaign. I think we've over $2,000.
Oh,
We've
Nice.
sold like 20 books. We sold 2 big pages of artwork, original artwork. So today the campaign was on fire. So Chrono Mechanics is going strong. I believe we only have 5 days left. So we're nearing the end. My only friend, the end.
Yeah. So, yeah, 4 days left in this campaign now. We'll get into more of the campaign in a little bit, but I do want to ask now. Now, after the 4 days, are you heading this? Is this going to go in demand, or are you cutting it off?
What I'm going to do is I have a new goal. It's kind of not written down in the campaign, but on my YouTube channel and on my social media, I've been saying 25K is the magic number. So at 25K, I can make all this work. So if I can get to 25K by the end of this campaign, then I will close the campaign. If I do not, I will have to go longer to, make sure I can get that 25K so I can pay everybody
Mm-hmm.
and give myself a little bit of time to get the next project out. So that's kind of the goal, is the 25K.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
yeah. So
fantastic.
you, but I know we usually do this. Our show we'll have you talk about yourself and all, and your career and what brought you to this point to be one of our hallowed guests on this show. But just a quick question: why not automatically go into demand mode for those who might have missed your campaign? Again, this is a really tough time to run a campaign. So, because of the holidays and all, and just keep it all the way till you're about to go and publish it and say, I don't know when you're going to, the spring or whenever you plan to publish it, to go to print.
Right. I always debate these things all the way up to the final moment. And so, like with Black and White, I did the same, where I really didn't make the decision until the day before. So this way, I think we make the campaign special and it's unique. And then at the end, we close it.
Yeah.
And if I can do that, that's what I would like to do. So I'm kind of using the in-demand as a plan B, not necessarily the way to fund the campaign itself. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that makes sense.
100%.
Perfect. And now let's get into it a little bit, though. I would like to know, man. Can we talk about little Art? Art as a child. I mean, what did you start drawing? When did you get? Yeah, let's shrink them down a bit. What got you into comics, man? What did you start drawing?
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you right now, I'm a product of the 60s and Adam West and Burt Ward and the 66 Batman TV series. When that came out, I was hooked. And when I found out there was a comic book based on this character, I went ape crap. So man, and at that time, comic books were more accessible. So when we would go out, I'd go, hey, can I have that, Mom? I'll behave myself. Can I have this? And so that's where my addiction started, was 66. And then it followed, I think, the next year with the Green Hornet with Bruce Lee as Kato. Yeah. Man, I was hooked, man. That was the double whammy, man. That was the 1-2 punch. So that did me in as a kid. It was over at that point. So I was hooked.
That's great. Now, when did you start drawing?
I think I always drew. I never stopped. So as soon as I could figure out how to hold something and move it around on a piece of paper, that's what I did. So I think I drew ever since I can remember all the way up till now. So I don't think I ever stopped.
Yeah. And were you drawing like Batman and Robin and Green Hornet, doing your own, Art's take on it?
Oh, dude, it was an obsession, man. Those characters ruled my life. So it wasn't just the drawings, but it would be all the adventures that you'd have with your friends in the neighborhood and stuff like that. You'd put the cape on and you'd fight crime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, which characters were your favorites?
Oh, it was definitely Batman and the Green Hornet and Kato. Those were my favorites at the time. It was pretty much always Batman. I got kind of the single vision, when I get locked on something, I like it to death. And up to this day, I still have an obsession with Batman. You guys have 1 second? I can show you something.
Yeah, please.
That will rock your world. Okay, hold on.
Does he have the cowl? Is it the cowl? Anticipation, Billy. Anticipation.
That's a badass bat chair he's got there too.
Ooh, yes. It is the cowl.
All right,
okay.
What is that?
Let me get these back on here.
That looks like a movie one.
This is the movie one. So this was from Batman Returns, and so this is the Michael Keaton cowl from that movie. So I have a friend that works at the Warner Brothers archives. So he got this for me. You can tell it's old because it's all cracked, and you can see where the Velcro for the cape went on and everything. So it's pretty cool. I have Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman cowl from that same movie as well.
Wow. So now did you buy that? Did he it was just thrown, discarded, put on the, and like, hey, you want this? Nobody wants it anymore. Is that?
Oh, no. I had to buy it.
You had to buy it. Now, so apparently the 90s were good for you, the early 90s.
Yeah, the 90s were very good. I think the cowl's worth like $15K right now or something like that. And I saw the Warner Archive one, the one at Warner Brothers Studio, and this one's in way better shape than theirs. So
when I was a little kid, we were at the Warner Brothers store, and they had they had the cowl there from the movie. It was a movie prop, right?
Yeah.
It was a few $100. My mom was like, yeah, if you want it, okay. And then my sister ruined it. She because there's a little damage to it, right? It was a movie prop. There was a slit on the nose piece, and my sister was like, "No, you can't get that. It's all damaged." Blah blah blah. And my mom goes, "Yeah, you can't get that." And to this day,
are you serious?
To this day, I was like, "Yay!" And I was so shocked that she went yes to no. And somehow they convinced me not to get it because of the little rip in the nostril piece.
What?
I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're probably right. And then I just like walked like a zombie, I think, for the rest of the day. And still to this day, I regret that. I'm like,
do you remember how much it was?
I think it was like $600 and something, and this had to be back in 1992, 90, because it was from the first Batman movie.
Wow,
it was
that thing's worth probably $20,000 now.
Yeah, it was. It was listed as number 3. So there must have been the mask 1, mask 2, mask 3, and this one had the emblem on it, his the bat signal on the chest piece, and then it had the Velcro sections on the back, and it had a couple little tears here and there, and that's what they started pointing it out. Where was that
store?
In Connecticut. There was a Warner Brothers store here. And
they had one of the movie cowls.
Yeah, they had one of the movie cowls. It was in a glass and everything, and it was $600 and something. And my birthday's December 30th. We went there, and it was it had been like November, and I was like, and Christmas and my birthday, we combined it, right? I was like, just get me this one thing, and there's just a tiny slit in it, and they said, my mom was like, no, but it's cool. It's cool.
You're over it? No, you're not.
Yeah, I'm over it, bro.
I have this.
It might even actually been cheaper than that.
That's so freaking sad. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, the head that was in that thing.
She's very tiny, man. This thing is really small.
That's crazy. It's a tiny little head, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even with all the hair. Yeah. Right. So these are my prized possessions. So I just wanted to show you that, I'm pretty Batman obsessed.
Why don't you have him in like a plexiglass case that you can get for football helmets and stuff?
Oh, they are. I just took them out of the case to bring them over.
Oh, thank you for that, then. We appreciate that. Thank you.
That's awesome. I like you even more now, Art. We share a similar passion.
The 90s were very good to me and my family.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're going to get to that.
Yeah, and that's actually what I kind of want to get into now. I mean, you kind of talked to us a little bit briefly about, your childhood, what you were into. You've been drawing your whole life. Now, talk to me about the journey of actually getting into the industry. Yeah. Where did you study? Did you go to a school? What did you do? I want to get to know your journey into this.
Well, the thing, when I was young, it was Disney animation comic books and Hanna-Barbera. That was my jam, right? But then as soon as I got a certain age, fast cars, women, and rock and roll ruled my life. Word? So comic books went away during my teen years. So I didn't really read comic books too much when I got into like middle school and high school. And so I played in a rock band, and somehow, like, being in a rock band, you have to come up with flyers, you have to have like art direction for your logos and stuff like that. So I started getting back into art, and then album covers. So album covers became my obsession. So I got back into art, or seriously into art, because I wanted to do illustration, and which I did do. I worked for 2 or 3 years as an illustrator, and it's a hard living. But I'd commute up to LA and meet with the art directors and things like that. And I did a few novel covers and some interiors. And one of the major publishers I worked with was Bridge Publications, and their claim to fame is it's a company owned by L. Ron Hubbard. So it's L. Ron Hubbard's publishing company, of the Dianetics and the such, the craziness, the cult that became, Dianetics and all that stuff. So Scientology. So I did that. And as far as schooling, I pretty much I was on my own pretty young. So I could just afford community colleges at night. So I take life drawing and illustration courses and things like that. And even when I was working professionally in comic books, I think for 3 or 4 years, I was still taking night courses, life drawing classes. I actually took a life drawing class with Jim Valentino and Rob Liefeld over at the local college over here.
Oh, really?
Cool. Yeah.
And how was he in class?
Oh, I'll tell you, the funniest thing is, you know how Rob draws? He would draw off the models exactly the same way. So they would look like Rob Liefeld drawings.
Oh wow, no, I wasn't even thinking of that. Like how his art style was. I was just wondering if he was like, how was he as a dude? Like as a student, you guys talk comics and all.
Oh yeah, like Rob and I knew each other before we broke into comics.
Okay.
So we were friends before that. So that whole kind of Southern California, what ended up becoming Image Comics, the Jim Lee and Will Spartaccio and Mark Silvestri and all that, it was already kind of starting to form. So there was the Orange County connection, which was Jim Valentino, Rob Liefeld, and myself. And then the South Bay, which I moved to later, was Silvestri, Mark Silvestri, and South in San Diego was Jim Lee and Will Spartaccio.
Okay, now, so that's cool, but okay, now, so you guys are taking a life drawing class. Now, I went to school for illustration, and our professors were. Now, this is a night course, so I'm sure they're not as hard as when you are with a regular, courses. So he's doing life drawing and then he's like drawing in the same style that he draws now. What did the teachers say about that?
It would always be draw what you see, not what you think you see. So yeah, and so I always got popped for like drawing like idyllic versions of the model. So my versions would always be like more attractive than the model themselves.
Right.
Yeah. So Rob was pretty much drawing Rob Liefeld characters, from the life models. It was awesome to watch.
Wow, that's funny. That's cool, man.
I would love to see that stuff. I wonder if he still has any of it.
Yeah, that would be something great to share.
Yeah.
We gotta try to get him on the show.
Yeah, we definitely. He's a great guy. He's a fun guy. He's a great guest too.
Yeah.
With Art Thibert and say,
Art Thibert right there.
We have to have you as our special guest host if you don't mind, Art.
Yeah, I'll come in. We'll talk about the old days, memory lane.
Now now also talking about your youth. And I'm a subscriber. I love watching your streams and stuff. Can you fill us in that, first of all, we're kind of glad that you're here, not just because of you being Art Thibert, but we're kind of glad that you're on this earth, because didn't you kind of come close to that there's quite a great possibility that you could have been murdered by a serial killer?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that was totally unexpected. I didn't think that's where you were going to go with this. But yeah.
I was like, what?
You know that, Nile? Did you?
I didn't know where you're going with it. I thought you were going somewhere else with it.
Yeah, there's
in a little bit on your adventures in serial killing.
Yeah, there's a guy named his name's Vernon Butts. I didn't make that name up. And he was an accomplice to the freeway murderer. I can't remember that guy's name, but they were infamous, and they would go around, and it was usually young boys, and they would grab them, and they would do bad things to them, and then they would murder them, usually strangle them, and then leave them on the side of the freeway. So when I was younger and Star Wars came out, I thought I wanted to do film. I thought I wanted to do special effects. So I was working with a lot of just hanging out with local kids that were making films. So my friend Phil said, hey, there's this guy, man. He's way more accomplished than us. You got to come over. He always needs people to help him out on his films. So I was like, sure, let's go. And his mom drove us over there. We were that young, right?
Oh, wow.
And so we went over there, and I got to meet Vernon. And we went into his room, and there was a coffin leaning up against the wall. And I said, what do you do with that? Because I thought it was a prop or something. He goes, I sleep in it. And I was like, all right. There's one problem there.
Yeah,
and
red flag.
yeah. And his mom was super sweet. She was like, "Can I make you a sandwich?" She was so sweet. So how sometimes if somebody's really nice and then somebody's a little peculiar, you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, well, he's a little weird, but his mom's really sweet. And so he also taught magic at the local mall, because in those days they would have toy stores, and so they had the magic counter. I don't know if you guys remember this. They used to sell magic tricks and things like that. So on the weekend he used to do magic tricks. So I already knew him from there as well. So just maybe an hour later after we, he said, so let's start making a film. Let's start doing something. So he was working on this Jaws movie or something like that. And he's like, go over there, Art, grab that bucket, but take the towel off the bucket first and then bring it over here. So he's bossing us all around to do things. And so I noticed as I'm walking over there, he's snickering. He's kind of making a face like, yeah, this is going to be good. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I knew that there's something weird. So he goes, I was just going to lift it up and move it over. And he goes, no, take the towel off the bucket. And I was like, why? You just want me to move it over here? He goes, no, do it. And so, not being stupid, you're being set up for something. So I pulled the towel away, and there was a severed head in a bucket of blood. But it was obviously, a rubber prop head.
Obviously.
But this guy, obviously, this guy got off on it, man. He was like, he was practically, well, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but he was getting off on it in a really strange way. So long story short, I decided I wasn't going to go back and help him anymore. My friend Phil did. And then it wasn't that much longer. It was months later, we found out that, he got popped for being the accomplice. And I think he killed like 3 of the victims himself. And so, it was crazy. But then I didn't even realize this until we were doing the live chat. And somebody said in the stream, and I think my daughter said, she goes, "Did you realize you were that age? You were exactly the MO for this guy. Like you and Phil were the proper age and everything. You fit the whole criteria for these murders." Yeah. So he could have been sizing us up, because one of the things Vernon did, was he would recruit kids to go over to meet this other guy and be murdered.
Oh my God. Shit. And what year was that?
This is, I was middle.
Glad we can laugh about it now, huh?
Yeah. Like bullet dodge.
If you can't laugh about it, right?
Yeah, bullet dodge.
Shit.
I mean, this had to have been, so Star Wars came out in 1977, so it had to have been around 1977.
Wow. And how old were you in 1977?
Middle school, so it's probably around 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, wow, dude. Oh my God.
The perfect age. That all those guys, the victims, were the same age. And then I was looking at pictures, and now I'm an adult. I'm looking at the pictures, I'm like, I look just like all those murder victims.
Wow.
So how do you know that severed head was really rubber?
It looked pretty phony.
Okay. Just saying.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Billy.
Well, I just think that's a great story. I don't know any, but like that knows, that my God, you could have been, murdered in the worst of ways.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
really good to
and
bring
you
up.
got a hunch, and you probably saved your buddy Phil's life too, because you could be like, this guy's the coolest guy in the world.
He did. He thought he was the coolest guy. And I remember having conversations with him. And I think Phil went back maybe 2 or 3 other times after that. Mm-hmm. But he got the hint too. And I remember we were talking to some kids at school, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Vernon, I remember that guy. I did a movie with him, and I borrowed my dad's car, and he kept trying to convince me to crash it for a scene." Oh. And I was like, What? He's like, yeah, drive it into the wall. It'll be cool.
Holy God. That's freaking insane.
Yeah, he was crazy.
That's freaking insane. Oh my God.
Now what happened to him? Is he still alive?
They say that he hung himself. So it was kind of suspicious, but before trial he hung himself. Wow. So, sometimes those guys don't make it to trial because maybe police intervene because they're so grossed out by this guy.
Yeah. So the other prisoners,
Yeah.
They're in jail with a bunch of guys who just for armed robbery, and they see these guys who are, kid rapists and murderers.
Yeah, because it was
Dahmer, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, we're gonna kill this son of a bitch.
I think it was his belt. So usually they take all those things from you. So it was kind of mysterious or weird that he actually still had his belt.
Yeah.
So I think that's the weird circumstances.
Yeah, they gave him the opportunity to just do it himself.
I think so. I think that's
probably. Yeah, you can do it, or we'll do it for you. Here's your opportunity.
It's gonna hurt a lot more when we do it to you.
Right? Holy shit.
Well, either way, it's better he's gone.
On a lighter note of some of your past, can you talk about Myth Adventures for those that are not aware?
Yeah, I went from illustration to working with Jim Valentino. And Jim Valentino, I don't know if anybody knows this, but Jim likes to party. And so Jim was really with like a lot of the underground scene. And Billy knows this. Like whenever you go to a convention, there's the surface level comic book things that are happening. But then there's like a level under it. And then there's a level and it just keeps going down like a rabbit hole. And so I found myself hanging out with like the Freak Brothers and a lot of the drug, the more drug like R. Crumb stuff and things like that. So I actually have a little bit of experience hanging out with those guys. So it was pretty cool. And so then Jim got offered Myth Adventures to follow Phil Foglio. And I was just trying to pay the rent. So it was a steady paycheck. So I started working for Warp Graphics, which is Wendy and Richard Pinney's company. And they do ElfQuest. Yeah.
Yeah. And how old were you then?
I was probably 2021. I broke in, professionally about that time.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
What was the first comic book you ever worked on?
Official comic book was probably Normal Man, where I worked with Jim Valentino on, and then I think I was just kind of credited as like special thanks, and then the big official was Myth Adventures. Yeah.
So how did you hook up with Jim? How did you hook up and get into comics? Like how did that? Because we didn't cover that, right? Unless I totally got lost in the murder. The potential.
No, you went into the murder, and then I started kind of going in because I wanted to ask about Myth Adventures and stuff like that. But I mean, where did you go from how did you go from a teenager to becoming an inker? And on something you've inked shit, man. You've worked on X-Men, Superman. I mean, you named it. You've worked on all the great properties.
Yeah, I was going to school and I was living in Whittier. And so this was one of those night courses that I was taking, and I was taking a life drawing course and an illustration course. And the illustrator, the teacher was very cool, and he saw that, like, Billy, like you innately draw the way you do, and it's heightened, and it's already kind of like comic book, you know what I mean? Like just innately you draw that way. So I think I did, and that's why some of the teachers go, "You're very heightened." But I think it was already kind of comic book style. And so my teacher said, "You like comic books?" I said, "I did when I was a kid." And he said, "I know a guy named Brian Murray, sorry, and he does comic books, and he works for Neil Adams Continuity." And Brian Murray was working on Megalith, I think, the Neil Adams company, the continuity character. And so the teacher actually hooked me up with Brian. And so Brian knew Jim Valentino, and then the whole Orange County, Rob Liefeld, Brian Murray and Rob and Jim all kind of came out of that. So I think that Brian was probably the biggest name at the time, because he was working with Neil Adams. So that's kind of how I got connected with those guys.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then that led to Myth Adventures and the Adventures of Superman, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, Myth Adventures, and then what always happens with these indies, and I'm sure you guys in the chat, and even Billy, you can relate to this. When you're working in independence, is sometimes the money isn't always there.
Yeah.
So Jim and I would always get our upfront money against back end, but the back end stopped coming in. So I still needed to pay my rent. So I just broke away from Jim Valentino, and I just said, Marvel Comics pays steady. They're a reputable company, and they're a company that I can rely on. And that's all I wanted. So I just wanted a steady paycheck. So I put a portfolio together, and I talked to Jim Shooter at a comic convention, and he saw my portfolio, and then he just invited me down to New York. Yeah, I'm a California boy, and he just said, "Come on down to New York City." So just the naive me, I saved up money, got a ticket, and he said, "You could work in the bullpen until you're good enough." So I went down to New York. He didn't know I was coming or anything. I just knocked on the door at Marvel and I said, "I'm here to see Jim Shooter." Just a naive, stupid kid. And so the secretary was like, is he expecting you? Is he waiting? And I was like, no, I don't know. He told me this. And then she must have saw that I was just such a sad sack. And then I was just so out of my realm, because I had never even been out of California up to that point, let alone New York City. So this was culture shock central. So I finally convinced her to go upstairs. And so I got to Jim Shooter's secretary. And so then she said, he doesn't know anything about this. And I said, yeah, but he told me this at a convention, 2 months ago. And she said, well, I'll go talk to him. And then she came back in. She said, he doesn't remember any of that. And I said, but he said I could come down and work out of the bullpen and everything. And then and then she said, sorry. And she must have just saw that I was so sad and just dejected. She went back in, and then she came out, and then she said, well, we do have a job for you. And she said, you can work as an intern. And I was so stupid. I was like, cool. How much does it pay? And she goes, no. You're not going to get paid a dime. You're just going to, hand out, mail to everybody and stuff like that. And just being in the office, maybe you can make some connections and things. And I was like, I need to get paid, right? And so just then, a friend of mine, his name's Art Nichols, and also part of this equation is I met Art Adams before Art Adams broke into the business as well, because he's Northern California. Mm-hmm. So we do these conventions together, and Art Nichols was friends with Adams. And so he used to ink all his samples and things like that. So he was there, and I hadn't seen him in years. I didn't know if he was in the mainstream or anything like that. And he just said, hey, listen, man, I'm going to take a trip over to DC Comics. He said, you want to share a cab with me? And I said, sure. So I went over there, exact opposite, man. I went in, I talked to Bob Greenberger, I showed him my portfolio, and he said, what do you want to do? He said, anything you want. Wow. He said, let's do it. And I said, well, that's a loaded question. I played the humble game, like, well, what do you have? And he said, well, I have the Warlord, the Mike Grill character. Mm-hmm. And so he gave me the Warlord. So I started penciling the Warlord. I broke in as a penciler, but when I went back to my apartment, or my friend's apartment that night, Ralph Macchio gave me a call and said, we want you to ink here as well. So I got work as an inker and a penciler on the same day for both Marvel and DC. So it started off the worst day ever, and then it ended like the best day ever.
Wow. So you come from California, you save up your money, and now you had a friend who lived in New York. You're like, hey, Charlie, can I stay with you? Or is that how it worked?
Yeah, do you remember, Billy, we're old timers. Do you remember Craig Anderson, who was Ralph Macchio's assistant at Marvel?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I stayed with Craig. So Craig was a pothead. He was an underground, like Lodi, like we were. And so I met him at those underground parties with Jim Valentino. And he made the mistake of saying, Art, when you're ever in New York City, look me up.
There you go, buddy.
And that's what I did.
Oh,
so I stayed with him for a while, and worked my way.
And that's how you became a reefer addict.
I was a reefer addict before that. But
that's what sparks the creative juices. It keeps the limbs relaxed so you can do all those beautiful ink lines.
It keeps me loosey-goosey.
So you've obviously hit it off really well in the mainstream, and then you jumped over to Image for a bit, and you had your own run of an independent series, correct?
Yeah, but like the big break came a little bit before that, where Dan Jurgens needed somebody to do finishes on Adventures of Superman. So DC knew I could pencil, so Mike Carlin brought me in, and I started working my way up at that point, and then I met Jim Lee, I should say. Mm-hmm. And so I just started kind of working my way over to Marvel, doing more ink work. So I think I started working with Terry Shoemaker on some X-Men Annual. Then I worked with Art Adams on some X-Men Annual stuff. And then Jim Lee on some Uncanny work.
Mm-hmm. Did you work with Adam Kubert too? Were you doing stuff with him? Or inking his pencils?
Not at that time. I didn't work with the Kubert brothers until after Image Comics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what year was that you actually went to Shooter's office and actually got to sit down with him, and then you got your work? What year was that? When was that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, early 20s. So it was probably 80, 81, maybe.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah.
Did you know John Tartaglione at all over there?
I knew of him, but I don't think I ever met him.
Okay.
Wow. So what made you head over? But so what made you transition or head over to Image?
Well, we all knew each other. I was working with all those guys, and at the time, I lived in the South Bay, so I lived really close to Mark Silvestri, and so I was working with Jim Valentino, Jim Lee, and Will Spartascio at the time. So we were just jamming on those books, X-Men, Uncanny. I think before X-Men it was Uncanny and X Factor, I think, with Wills. So we were just trading off. So Scott and I we were just jamming on these books, getting them done. And so I was friends with these guys. They're all local. We would hang out because Jim Lee and Wilson Scott Williams, they had a studio, but it was like an apartment, and they called it Homage Studios. And so I would go down there and work, and sometimes they would come up to Hack Shack Studios and work out of my office when we had like late nights and we were trying to get things done. And so a lot of times it went more my way because we could drive the pages right to LAX because I lived real close to LAX, and we could do the Delta Dash or TWA next, which means we could work till 3:00 in the morning. We could drive down to the airport. We could drop off the package, and it would get to Marvel the next day, that morning.
Oh wow!
So,
wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
That's...
All right, so you're sitting there, right? You're working away. You're doing well. You're doing well at Marvel Comics, right? You're working on all these great books. All of a sudden, who comes up to you with the idea like, "Hey, man, we're jetting. We're bolting out of here"? Like, did you know about it before they did it?
Oh yeah. I was in. I mean, it was probably 6 months or so in the making, and I was already friends with Rob Liefeld and Jim Valentino as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all a pretty natural fit. And Rob and Todd McFarlane were really, really close at the time as well. So it all kind of, like, I guess they call it synergy in Hollywood. So there was this synergy, and Jim Lee and myself got hired to do this X-Men tour. So it was like a dog and pony show. Some promoter hired us to go to all these different, states and, entertain people, draw and sign autographs and things like that. So when we were doing this, Jim was inviting other people like Larry Stroman and just all kinds of different people to come hang out with us. So then, after the show was always like conversations like, hey, what if we had this company? You know what I mean? Like, what if we could produce our own books with the money that we're making here and the popularity that we have? Maybe this would be a good move. And I remember Jim, because there was a company called Pacific Comics that was out in San Diego, and they had all the bigs. They had Neil Adams, they had Jack Kirby, they just had everybody at the time. And I remember
Stevens was there, right?
Yeah. Rocketeer, I think, started there.
Yeah, it did. Yep.
And so I was talking to Jim Lee about this, and I said, this is kind of like Pacific Comics, right? We would do something like that. And he goes, no, Art, the difference is those guys were at the downside of their careers, their career trajectory. We are at the top. And if we leave, we are going to have a bigger impact than those guys ever did.
Right.
And boy was he right. Yeah.
All right. So now, if I may, if this hurts too much, then forgive me. But why weren't you a founder? Like, were they just best buds, those 7 guys? You know what I mean? Or did they ask, hey, Art, fuck it, come with us? And we
No, I was there. Yeah, I was there from the very get-go. But the thing is, they needed supporting people. And so I always played a supporting role as an inker. I could do these other things because obviously I penciled X-Men after Jim left, and I penciled Cable, the ongoing series. So I had the skill set, but I think those guys needed support. So I came over as more of a support, to ink the book. So my original jobs were, get this, I was going to ink Cyberforce. What was it called? Cyberforce, right? The Mark Silvestri book. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to ink Wetworks with Will Spartaccio.
Yeah.
And so those, I think Mark put out one book for that year, and Wills didn't put out anything. So I just kind of then just went more in the Rob Liefeld vein, because we had just bought this house and it's close to Extreme Studios. So I just kind of fell into the Extreme Studios slot. And so I started working out of Rob's office, and I was doing a bunch of covers and inking people. And then Rob said, you're kind of wasting your talents. You should do your own book. So he gave me the green light to do Black and White.
Mm-hmm.
So that was done through Extreme then?
Yeah, Extreme Image. Yeah, I also got the blessing from the founders as well. Mm-hmm. So they all okayed it, because what they did is they cut me a special deal. So I didn't have like the other guys that came in the second string. I had like the first string deal, and the 7 guys signed off on it so I could get that. So I was kind of treated like, one of the founders, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I have and I can't wait to go through all my comics. I have so many of them, long boxes, when I was trying to get in. And I wanted to do comics around, I got back into comics in 88, but when I graduated from college in 90. Then I wanted to really get, to into it. And then, of course, following all the X books, everything like that. And then seeing, of course, the Image explosion. And I have Black and White. I have the first couple issues. And I even remember you in Wizard magazine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And doing that fun article. And and I remember they were talking about the style, and it's different. And I remember you saying, well, hey, man, that's just that West Coast style. And I remember you said that. I'm like, that's pretty cool. This guy's cool.
Yeah,
coming as an East Coaster, but it was fun. Good, great looking stuff. And
how long did you work at Extreme Studios?
About 5 years, I think. Yeah. So, wow.
How's that?
It's my Batmobile warming up.
That the boy stealing your Viper again?
Those kids, man, they're just taking my Viper out.
That's a pretty cool. That's like a V10, right?
Viper, is it?
That's a V12.
Is it a V12? Yeah.
It's a V12.
Nice. Yeah, I had a chance to buy one of those. In 96 for $44,000.
I had a chance. Oh, go ahead.
And it was a red one, convertible.
It did have the stripe.
Like, what are people gonna look at me driving this thing around? That sort of thing. And
they already thought you were a drug dealer.
They did. They actually did in my neighborhood. Just kind of that's a Tucci's. We're here with Art. All right, Art.
Well, no. It had the stripe, right? It was the hard top.
No, mine was all red. No, mine was that was the blue one with the round
stripes.
Oh, mine was a red 1990. The one I was going to buy, and I test drove it, and the guy let me test drive it with me in it, and and I'm like, oh my god, I want to buy this car, but then I was like, I don't know. Like I said, what if people? So I ended up buying a red Vet anyway, like an idiot.
Yeah.
But
you get better gas mileage.
In his red NSX. I went out there to visit him and hang out and stuff like that. And holy shit, what a beast that car was. But anyway, let's get to the gist of it. Art, I gotta ask you, what were your numbers on the Black and White number 1? Do you remember?
I think the miniseries sold. It was like $1.5 million, I think.
$1.5 million now, Scala.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Look at this guy.
Unbelievable. That's why he's got the cowl.
That's why he's got the cowl. Are you kidding me?
That's why he's got the cowl.
1.5 million copies of 4 or 5 issues. How many was it?
It was just 3 issues.
Oh, 3.
It was 3 issues.
Yeah.
God love you. God bless.
Comics used to be very cool. They still are. I think this indie revival that's happening right now is it has the same potential. We're gonna kind of have to massage it, nurture a little bit more. But I do believe, and especially with the success you just had, Billy, with She, I think you're proving how viable this new platform is.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're absolutely right, and you've done it. I mean, like I said, look at everybody. You know, look at. I mean, you can look at Ethan, right? Look at Ethan as a perfect example. Well, maybe he's not a great example because he really is the extreme. Ethan, Doug, Richard, C. Meyer. You know, those guys have really popped up, but they're ordinary guys. I mean, look at Mandy, our moderator.
Mhm.
You know, Mandy was just, you know, a mom with a talent and had a story that she told her daughter, and all of a sudden, like, you know, I want to make a comic book out of it.
Mhm.
And now look at her, you know. I mean, I don't know if Mandy can answer that. How 7 months ago she had this idea to do it, and now she's in the midst of getting ready to fulfill her own comic book.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Is that
Wart,
Wart
yeah,
the
Wart the
Wizard?
Yeah,
Wizard,
Wart
yeah.
the Wizard,
Mandy Summers.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyone can do it. You don't have to be old timers like Art and I, you know. Anyone's
Well, the
out
thing
there.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, the way these platforms work is we all kind of move up, so we can get the new guys in, and then we can just kind of bring them up and just keep moving. You know, it's just forward trajectory. You know, with each new book. And as long as we all agree to help each other like you guys are doing for me right now, and we all share a platform and we lift each other up, this is only going to get stronger, bigger, and badder, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And we all got into this because we love comics, right? I mean, this is why we do it. You know, and the thing is now, and there's nothing more fun, really. Well, there is a lot more fun, but it's great to talk comics with your friends, your peers. You know what I mean? Even the fans, people you meet at conventions. That's one of the things I love about conventions is going out and meeting people. Because Art, as you know, before really this sort of, you know, the YouTube and stuff, we live a real solitary existence as cartoonists, right? I mean, it's because you can't be on the phone. I have my buddies call me. I got my buddies who are one guy's in business, another guy is he's an exterminator. My buddy Nello, who I love, you know, but he'll call me and I'm like, I let me call you back. I can't talk right now because I'm sitting there, and then he gets mad at me. You know what I mean? And I got to explain. No. I would love to talk to you, but I can't. You know what I mean? I have to focus on this, or I'm not going to get this damn thing done.
Right.
But what's cool about it is afterwards, like we're here on the East Coast, and you're 3 hours behind us. Is he coming to us from the future?
No, he's coming to us from the past.
The past. You guys are in the future.
We're in the future.
We are the future, Scala. Scala, you are the future.
The future's up there. The future's up there.
You're the future.
The
You
future.
can do it. You can do that book. Do that book.
Do you think so, Mr. Tucci? You think I can do it?
I think you can do it.
I think
You
I'm gonna
can
do it, Mr. Tucci. I'm
Do
gonna do
your
it.
fucking book. Just
I'm gonna do
your
it.
fucking
I'm gonna
book,
do the
right?
fucking book. I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm doing the book right now.
The drinks are on the house.
That voice is coming out of you. It's really
All right,
weird.
sorry. Now,
like
why
it.
do I keep getting smooth?
Because your system sucks.
Wait, is that really true?
Yeah,
Is that it's my fault?
Are the boys playing the video games, as you boomers say? The
I'm
video
sure
games.
one of them is, but I am tapped in. I am
worry about
5G hardwired in.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I am worried about it
Don't worry
because I
about
don't understand. Art is perfect.
The focus is on art. I'm perfect because, well, I'm Nile Scala, and that's just me.
Also-
And you know, that's why we're here.
And you are.
Nile Scala. Nile
Thank
Scala.
you.
That's my name.
All right, so Art, so you sell 1.5 million copies of this book, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Now you're rocking and rolling. You're hanging out with Rob Liefeld,
He's
who I think
crashing
actually owned a
Vipers.
Viper, right? Did he have a Viper?
2.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that's why I was thinking it was a V10, but yeah, it's a V12. That's a monster.
Yeah. So you're hanging out with him. You're hanging out with the affable and young and handsome and oh so passionate Marat Michaels. And of course, Danny Fragaboom were part of your crew. You're hanging out with these guys. You're going out like rock stars. You're going on tours. And you still with your wife. Look at you. What a man. What a good man. See that? Because I'm sure that the comic book guys were nipping at your feet, right? Look at it. Meeting dudes in different towns, right? And
It was Rockstar, man. It was Rockstar.
Bro. Meeting dudes in different towns. What the hell were you doing? Meeting strong, muscly, glistening dudes, bumping biceps. I mean, wow.
Well, you know, there's
there was a
there's
couple
something
chicks.
for everybody. There's something for everybody, you know.
No, right. That's of course. We don't judge here.
No.
So but what a wonderful time. And a lot of people like Mandy, who wasn't even born yet, don't realize just how magical that time was, right? I mean, insane, right?
Yeah, I remember, I think, Jay Lee had just launched, what was it called? Hellshock.
Yes.
And so through Dynamic Forces, we both had Ashcan. So I had an Ashcan for Black and White. Like, these were preview books. And then he had Hellshock. And there was a little guy named Mike Judge that was sitting next to us, and he was hawking some comic book. Who knew that guy was going to take off?
Was it really the Mike Judge?
Yeah, he was sitting right across from us, like we were the three of us. And
where were you guys?
This was the Javits, I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure where it was actually, but the fire marshals came in there. They had to separate us because those were the days when lines and stuff was crazy. Yeah. So they had to separate Jay and I, and so we were at different ends of the convention floor because of fire and just traffic, and stuff like that. They had to make sure they had people that can get through the aisles and all that. So yeah, I wish I would have become more friends with Mike, but they separated us. So
yeah, I think so that was that. All right, Nile, I'm sorry. You want to get serious now?
I'm enjoying talking about how you guys are meeting dudes and stuff. This is great.
Thank you,
dudes, women.
Hey, we're. Am I gonna? I'm not. It was a joke. The guy's not gonna two-time his wife. But if you hang out with you start talking about.
What are you doing?
Silver Age, X-Men. You never know.
So Art. Since myself and Mandy and stuff, we weren't born then. No, we were. We were buying those books, Billy. We were buying those great books you guys were putting out there.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Fantastic. And I mean, yeah. Let me scroll through this real quick. Hang on one second. Sorry, everyone. Got my little notes here because there's a lot on you, Mr. Art. There's a lot. All right. So let's just bring it back to now. Now, after Image, though, you went back over to Marvel and DC, correct?
Yeah, it was a shame, but Camelot was coming to an end, and I guess they called them the speculators. Billy knows the speculators.
Yeah.
And they were kind of retreating. I think they wrongfully thought that these comic books were going to, put their kids through college or something. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of investors coming in, and when they figured it out, they were leaving as fast as they were coming in. So the ship was kind of sinking. So we had just had a little daughter, and so I needed some secure income. So with tail between my legs, hat in hand, I went back to Marvel and sweet talked Bob Harris to get me a job. And so I inked every crappy book for probably about 6 months.
Oh, so he gave you, did he teach you a lesson? Is that what he was kind of doing?
I think so. Yeah, he just wanted to kind of, so he didn't have any hard feelings, just kind of make me, pay the price, I guess, pay my dues again. And so, and it was cool because it was Andy Kubert who was doing X-Men, and he saved me from inking every bad book. And he said, I want Art to come in and start inking me on X-Men. So that's when things started taking off again for me, as far as my second big run on X-Men books.
Excellent.
And then did you go over then to DC and do more stuff, or no?
I always worked for both companies.
Worked for both?
Yeah.
And now can I do it, Billy?
Yes.
Can I do it? And now you're not. What happened? Why are you not doing any work for them anymore? And please, let's get into a little bit of this lovely special that you had me like at periods of the day trying to catch up on. I was like, what is this video?
My YouTube that thing heated up.
Yeah, dude.
You put these things out and you have no idea what they're going to do, but it was more to exercise some demons that I've had, and I've been teasing people for the last year on my YouTube channel. I was going to tell this story, and so it
was very moving. It really was, of what you went through.
Yeah, it was pretty humiliating too.
I don't think it was humiliating. It was a soliloquy. It was it's a life lesson. It's a story. That's your life, and if you care to share it, I don't know if there's some people out there that didn't see it, but if you don't mind, you could, if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to, of course.
No, I'll give you the highlights.
Yeah, it's the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, I'll give you the highlights. And when I meant humiliating, I meant what Marvel did to me, not the YouTube,
Yeah,
me
yeah.
me talking about it. Yeah. So in essence, we had the little one, as a parent, when you have a kid, you get as a dad, you get very, very serious. And you start going, well, I got to take care of this little person, and I got to make sure that they have a home and that they're fed and they go to good schools and all this other stuff. So I had never been really a corporate guy. I've never kind of just locked into one company and just pledged allegiance to it and stayed there. So when I went back to Marvel after Image, that's what I told myself I was going to do. I was going to be a company boy, and I was going to work at Marvel, and I was going to just work my way up to the top and do the best work possible and make all my deadlines, which is what I did. So smash cut. I'm working on the Ultimate X-Men, first with Adam Kubert, and then with Dave Finch, with what's his name, Mark Miller doing the writing, and then I was working with Mark Bagley on Ultimate Spider-Man with Michael Bendis.
Oh, nice.
And so everything's going great. Those books are selling like crazy. This is like major resurgence for Marvel and these books. I mean, no one thought, like Mark Bagley and I, we were saying we're going to get 6 issues and then are going to cancel it, because just before that, John Byrne of all people tried to do a Spider-Man Year One, and nobody wanted to have anything to do with it. So we were thinking they're going to reboot Spider-Man, this close to that. This thing is not going to work out, and much to our surprise, it worked out big time. So anyways, Reader's Digest, I was fired 3 years into it, and I was told that it was because I was trying to steal talent from Marvel and bring them over to DC. And so I could get into details, but just go to my video and you'll get the blow by blow.
If we could share the link, Mandy, or I don't know if you're, or Frank Amazing, could you guys throw Art's link, because it's really an amazing story. It really is an amazing video, and it's a very important lesson too for people that want to freelance, and what could happens by certain corporate shills or personalities, or looking for a scapegoat or something like that. And it's really, I can tell you, it's infuriating. I really got angry for you, and I'm glad we weren't at a convention and you told me that story at a bar. And some of the characters, the supporting players in your video were at said bar as well.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have done if I was fired face to face. I'm pretty sure I would have a broken fist right now, and they'd probably have a broken face, because I'm not an overly aggressive person, but I did come home after being fired and I punched a hole in the wall just to deal with the aggression, because it was so humiliating. But in a nutshell, they fired me, and then David Bogart threw this, and he said, and you will never work here at Marvel again. So they weren't just slapping my wrist or my hand for wooing talent that I had no way of. I mean, it's not in my power to give anybody a job at DC Comics. I mean, this is ridiculous. And Billy knows as well as I do, when you're at these cons, you're meeting all kinds of people, and you're going to the bars together, and there's people from DC, Image, Marvel, like all these indie guys, you're all hanging out. Yeah. It's not like you're trying, it's not a coup. It's not like it's some kind of, big to do, like behind somebody's back that you're trying to steal talent. It was nothing like that. It was just, I was going to lunch with Joan Hilty, and Mark Bagley was there because we were hanging out at the show. And I said, hey, Mark, you want to go to DC Comics with me? He said, yeah. It was just that harmless and that simple. And so we went out, and then we stopped by DC on the way over there. And DeDito, we just popped our head and said, hey, Dan. And he said, you guys going to lunch? And he said, yeah. I said, let me join you. So Dan came out. And, of course, Dan's going to offer Mark work. I was already working at DC and Marvel at the time. Yeah. So he offered Mark work. That's what they do. I mean, if the shoe was on the other foot, the Marvel guys would have been asking DC's top guy to work there, right?
Right. And absolutely.
Right. So this is just pretty standard procedure stuff. And so then, we had a great lunch. And so then I came back to the con with Mark. Mark went his way. And then CB, the little scroungy, that guy's a weasel. He comes up to me and he said, Art, I'm thinking of writing, and I'd really like to write a Batman comic. Do you have any insight, somebody I could talk to, maybe a way that you can connect me with somebody so I can do a Batman story? And I'm sure you're the same way, Billy. When somebody comes up and they actually seem like they want help, right? One of the things we do is we help people, like, oh yeah, we'll help you get in the business. We'll help you, we'll answer your questions and stuff. So I was just being the helpful guy. And I told him kind of from my point of view how you would go about doing it. And then he said this. He said, is it true that you and Dave Finch are going to do a Batman project? You're going to follow Jim Lee on Hush? And I said, we were offered the job, but we're not going to take it. And so I'm pretty sure that what happened is CB went back to Marvel and told him, all of this stuff, and that they concocted some kind of crazy scheme that I was wooing talent. And basically, in a nutshell, I believe that I was thrown under the bus to be an example to Dave Finch and to Mark Bagley not to leave Marvel. So they wanted to show in a safe way that they could burn me in the same way that they could have burned them. And they used me as an example because I know that this is what they did, because they went to Mark and they went to Dave before they fired me. David Bogart did, and asked them if it would be okay if he fired me. And when you have the artist, kind of the only reason he went there is because if he didn't get there okay, then he would have been not doing right by his artist, because they wanted me working on those books. So if he would have just fired me, then they would have went, what's going on here? Why did you fire Art? He's doing great work for us. Mm-hmm. This way, they already have, those guys signed off on me getting fired. And so that's what basically happened. I believe it's because they wanted to set an example to those guys. And to be honest, if Marvel was that scared about losing all of us, they should have just signed us to an exclusive. It would have made a lot more sense than going through all this and then just, basically destroying a person's life, which was myself, that got caught in this whole scheme. So, like I said, there's a lot of details to this that I say on my YouTube. It's probably too much to talk about here. But yeah, go there, and if you like what you see, please sub, because YouTube is purging us all right now.
Yeah, look, if you guys like it, check out Art's page. He'll get the whole story. This is just like I said, the Cliff's Notes version of it or something.
Yeah.
And you'll hear, let him tell his story, and if you agree with him, support him, because things like that can happen. Of course, for full disclosure, we can't say that yes, that's exactly what happened, but it's good to hear these stories because they have to be told.
Yeah.
They're cautionary tales, and if I can save anybody, because I know that CB talks to a lot of young talent and things like that, just be really leery of that guy, because he really is a scary character, and I don't say this about a lot of people. I don't think he has a soul at all. I don't think he has a conscience and a soul. I know that David Bogart doesn't. So. Enough said.
Yeah. Enough of the negative, because Nile, we could talk the entire night about Art's adventures in mainstream comics, can't we?
Yeah, we could definitely do that, but we're here more for the independent self-publishing end of things, and it's good to have creators like yourself, Art, back into the independent realm. And I think, like you said, building it up, working with some new talent, old talent, guys coming in. As you can see, this little mound is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and more guys from mainstream and more incredible talents are really coming out, to the point where you're like, holy crap, look at this guy's work. Who is this guy? And we get him on shows like ours. So now you work for the mainstream, all this stuff happened. So let's talk about crowdfunding. When did you actually start getting into crowdfunding, or more importantly, what made you actually say, I'm going to do the crowdfunding route?
Well, what happened is after Marvel did what they did, I didn't want to really get it to be part of comics anymore. So I took 2 years off, and I used my savings and I just created IPs. So I started developing shows for animation. I got an agent and started pitching shows and designing, cartoon shows. And so I started studying animation, started studying that style. And so as I was doing this, I started really developing a love for cartoon style. And so had already had this Chrono Mechanics idea. So then I just started doing like little doodles and stuff. I had some of them here, like just really weird doodles and character things and stuff. I don't know if the camera will pick up on this. It's probably going to be blown out.
It's a little white,
Yeah,
bleeding out a little
white.
bit.
Yeah, so you can't really see it.
If you tilt it down a little, it might pick it up.
Yeah, I'll try it again, but yeah, it's pretty bad. For some reason, this camera just picks up on the light. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see this, but this was like some early just developmental stuff and just me having fun with more cartoony style and different designs. And so I really started falling in love with it. So I started drawing these Chrono Mechanics characters, and then I just got the bug again to do a comic book. So I didn't even really have a direction. Oh, I remember too. I did a pitcherama for it was Fox. It was Fox TV. And so I did the pitch in the form of a comic book, an 11-page comic, and that was my pitch for the TV show too. And so I just loved it so much, and it was for Chrono Mechanics. And so I really liked it. So then that's when I started doing the comic book, and I just started falling in love with the process of doing a comic book again. And I was writing, drawing, and inking, and it was just nice to be your own boss, which is something that Billy's known for a long time with She. But I never really experienced it before. So I really liked the freedom, and I liked that I could draw and write and do whatever my imagination, whatever limitations I had as a creative person, was it. I didn't have, corporate mandates. I didn't have any restrictions put on me from a company. It was all just whatever I wanted to do. And I really enjoyed the process. My first Chrono Mechanics did come out through Image, though. And so years later, I did an art book through Kickstarter, Oodles of Doodles and other stuff, too. And that's when I really started falling in love with the crowdfunding and realizing that there's a market there that's kind of untapped, and there's people that want to support these books and want to enjoy these books. So then I think I was just listening to your boy Zach, and it was more just a hoot. Like, that guy is like, he's out there, man. He's flushing comics down the toilet. Remember early stuff like he was doing? And I was just like, this is really weird stuff, man. And so then he launched his comic, and I was like, holy shit, man. And then Ethan, with Cyberfrog shortly after that, and I was like, these are big numbers, man. These are Image Comics numbers, for like our time. These are like, Image Comics numbers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I got to get in on this stuff. I got to get in. So yeah, I just made a phone call to Ethan, and I knew Ethan a little bit before that. So I made a call to Ethan, and we talked, and Ethan tried to talk me out of it. He's like, you don't want this heat. You don't want to do this. You're going to be, all this baggage of Comicsgate's going to be put onto you and stuff like that. And I talked to Mike Miller, and but I was like, no, this is where my heart's at. I want to start doing, IPs, and I wanted to bring black and white back in a big way. Mm-hmm. So
and you did.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was last fall, right? And I mean, you did like almost $69,000, right?
Yeah. We did really good. We moved, I think, like 1,500 books. And for this independent market, that's pretty crazy, man. I mean, it's not Billy Tucci numbers. But...
oh, jeez. Well, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, my friend, and you're one of them. So.
Oh, stop. Yeah. But it was great, man. It was like we were gangsters. We were punk rockers. Yeah, and I still feel that way, with this, and it's funny because I remember talking to somebody. It was at San Diego, this last San Diego. We all went out to lunch, or no, it was dinner. And Doug TenNapel, he fit the bill for it, and and we were just talking. I'm not going to name names, but we were just talking, and they were like, I don't like all the drama. I don't like all the drama. And I was like, well, you know what? I don't like some of the destructive drama, but drama unto itself is not necessarily bad. I said, Image, there was a lot of tension there. There was a lot of drama going on in the Image days. Don't think you could leave Marvel, and then get a Forbes write-up, because there was an actual Forbes article, about us leaving Marvel and all that other stuff. So it actually hurt their stock. It sent ripples, and so we were not very liked by a lot of mainstream comic guys, especially Marvel guys. And so there's always going to be some of that drama, but the drama, as long as it can stay focused and it can stay constructive. Mm-hmm. I think it works, right? Because the drama is intriguing. It's a story, Yeah. It brings people in. They want to know what's going on, who said this, all this stuff. And I think it's intriguing, and it does help perpetuate and move these things. And especially like what Billy's doing and what I'm doing is we're also the face of this, literally we're like on camera right now, and we're talking directly to people, and we're letting them know what the projects are, like a little bit about who we are, what we're about, our personalities, in ways that we never could before. So I think this is the sky's the limit here. It's as far as we want to take it.
Yeah, it's funny, you mentioned the drama, and I'm going to kind of, like the Mobsy kind of said it, he goes, there was always drama. It was just behind the scenes pre-social media. So you had the drama back in the day, but you couldn't allow the general public into your drama, really, like you can today. Like now people will just get behind a movement and sometimes don't even understand what the movement's for. They just feel like being a part of it, because it's the biggest thing going on. So I think today it's even that drama's even worse to deal with sometimes, because the fact that literally anyone can start chiming in on it,
Yeah, and people are losing their minds.
Oh, they're losing their minds over it, and they're taking it.
You got a lot of emotionally
vested. They're emotionally
people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Emotionally crippled people out there, mm-hmm. and they're taking out their angst on on creators or people they disagree with. That's all social media.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and they can do it from the safe distance of their own homes.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
Now, Art, Lee Ditworth asked a question, and he said, "Is Black and White still shipping? He hasn't gotten his. He's one of your backers."
Yeah, Black and White is being. They are going out now. They're being shipped. We are in full fulfillment mode. And so probably every other day a shipment goes out. But the thing is, the books are a little limited because we don't have, we paid a little bit of extra money to get an early shipment of books. So we don't have all of our books right now. So we don't have like the Greg Capullo variants, and we don't have some of those other books. So we can't ship those yet. Mm-hmm. So we're still waiting for the second shipment to come in. But the books are going out right now. So just be patient. And all the PDFs went out last week. So all of those are out. So if you did order a PDF and haven't downloaded it yet, please do, because there's a date on there that it will basically go away. Expire. Yeah.
That's smart.
You know what? Let's jump in, because Billy, when we have our Titans of Comics guests on, as I like to call them, we definitely will go over what we try to allot for our show.
We're sorry, and, Art. We go over.
We've got we're already at our first hour. So what I would love to do is I'm going to head over to Indiegogo. Oh, here we are. I want to play your campaign video for everyone, and then I'd like to talk some more about Chrono Mechanics.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Hi all, I'm Art Thibert, and I'm a comic book artist. During my 35-year career, I have worked on many comic titles for DC, Marvel, and Image Comics, such as Adventures of Superman, Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Men, Cable, Spawn, Youngblood, Super Sons, and others too numerous to mention. Now, I'm rocking the indie scene, and that all began with my graphic novel, Black and White, and thanks to people like you, we made that campaign a huge success. Now, I'm hoping that together we can do it again as I switch creative gears to offer you something new and exciting with a style created just for this Chrono Mechanics title. At this point, you may be saying, sounds good, but what is Chrono Mechanics about? Well, I'm glad you asked. This wildly funny sci-fi action-adventure graphic novel focuses on the best repair team to ever turn a wrench. I'm talking about Team 9.2 of Sector 7. Chrono Mechanics is about the brave, knuckle-busting son-of-a-gun repairmen who fix the big machine known as time. And yes, when I say machine, you heard right. What keeps our time running smoothly is an ancient nuts-and-bolts cosmic clockwork machine that is as huge as the galaxy itself. So join Oot, a prehistoric businessman with anger issues. Caravaggio, frustrated Renaissance artist and inventor. Zin, a child deity with the power of the gem. And a potential new recruit, Doug, a 70s rock god and slacker with crazy dumb luck. As they don their work suits and power up to repair a rip in time, will our slackers step up to become a chrono mechanic and take his place as the fourth member of Team 9.2 of Sector 7? Chrono Mechanics. They do more before the dawn of time than most people do all day. We believe that you will have so much fun reading about the crazy repair misadventures of Team 9.2 as we did making it. So please support this campaign and then spread the word. Thank you. You are awesome.
That animation style is on point, Art.
Yeah. Great video, too. Great video.
Yeah, the great Von
Great
Klaus
art.
put that together for Monster MD, so thank you, Von. You did a great job with the video.
And your art is amazing. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's so funny how you go from your realistic style that you were able to turn on a dime for that. Wonderful. Just wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate
I mean,
it.
you are a true professional, man, and a very talented individual for sure.
Yeah. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your creative team for this book?
Yeah, we have my co-writer, and if she's not co-writing with me, she's usually editing me, and that's my wife Pamela Thibert. So we're working on the writing together. We have Narwhal on colors, and he's doing a bang-up job. It's kind of like a cell shade, kind of more animation style, but it's way more sophisticated than just a basic cell shade. He's really bringing it to the next level. And then I for 10 pages, actually like 12 pages, I have Render Contender, who is taking my layouts and giving me breakdowns, and then I'm doing finishes over them just so I can get the book done quicker and I can get it to people faster. So it's a 48-page book, and he's going to probably end up doing 12 to 15 pages to help me out. And so then we have my good buddy Jeff Eckelberry on lettering, and this would not be a Chrono project or a Hack Shack project without Jeff Eckelberry. He does all my lettering. He's brilliant. He works with he works on Cry for Dawn. I forget the artist now. Joe Linsner? Yeah.
What is this golden time card here?
Yeah, what is that?
If we get to that stretch goal, we're going to get printed, like foil printed time cards. And if you fill out the time card, and then we're going to one out of 10 people, are going to get a time card put into their their book. And then when they get the book, if they get a time card, they get to fill it out. They send it to me, and I'll do a Doug, or the D as he's known, the rock star guy. I'll do a sketch on Bristol board. I think it's
9x12 head sketch.
It's 9x12 exactly.
That's awesome.
That is.
Yeah.
That's
so I got a feeling if we get that point, I'm going to be doing quite a bit of drawings.
Yeah, I hope you do, buddy. I hope you have to. So tell us the story. Tell us about the story.
Okay, I would love to. So it's Chrono Mechanics. They do more before the dawn of time than most people do all day. They are basically time traveling repairmen, and they work and repair and maintain the big machine known as time. So before I go any further, you have to realize that this is a very broad, humorous comic book. It's adult, but it's still funny. So there's a lot of raunchy humor in it and things like that. So when I say big machine known as time, it's literally a nuts and bolts cosmic clockwork machine that was built in the very fabric of the cosmos themselves. So when all this was made, time was built into it as well. So if you think about how the world would be if we did not have the concept of time or the big machine to regulate that time, then there would just be chaos. So it basically is it maintains and keeps all of timelines moving and going in a smooth fashion. But what happens, since it's an old machine, is it breaks down quite a bit. This machine is old, it breaks down. And so what happened is there's a company called Chrono Incorporated that were entrusted in repairing the big machine. So it's a company just like any other repair company, and they hire mechanics to go out and repair the big machine. So this story focuses on Team 9.2 of Sector 7, which is these guys that we're looking at now. And the reason being is because they're the best of the best. They are the best knuckle-busting wrench turners Chrono Incorporated has ever had. And so these are their adventures. So we're chronicling their adventures in time travel and repairing the machine. And one of just to show you how interesting the landscape can be is that if they don't fix the machine in a timely fashion, all kinds of offshoots and anomalies can happen. And one of the worst things is time will start merging onto itself, meaning that timelines will start kind of affecting other timelines. They'll ease into each other. And so as they're repairing the machine, all kinds of these distractions can come up, while they're trying to get to the work site, or while they're working on, like in this story, it's the cooling plant that cools it's one of the cooling plants that cools the big machine down. And so, we have prehistoric timeline, which is the base timeline. And then in one of the, if you scroll down, I don't know if you're not on it anymore, but there's an image of like a prehistoric landscape with a 50s cafe that just shows up. And so this is part of the anomalies. So, Doug, our rocks, there it is.
Yeah.
He's saying, hey, guys, can you front me some green? I want to get a cheeseburger. I'm hungry. And those guys are like, what? Yeah. That place should not be in the middle of this prehistoric landscape. And so then they realize that the machine is in worse shape than they thought. So from this point on, time just goes crazy. So these anomalies start quickening. They start getting crazier. More things come in, and I don't want to give away too much, but all kinds of. You can see right there, they're in an Indian village. Like there's just all kinds of craziness.
That's great, buddy. That's
awesome.
Great. That's
that happens.
Fantastic. Very original. I've never heard anything remotely like that.
Thank you, man, because that was the goal. Because I remember, Billy, when you're developing things, you always hear like, there's nothing original out there. There's nothing that's truly out there. And so I was so naive when I came up with this, because I always thought like, if we're going to create anything and it's going to be worthwhile, it has to be uniquely different. Like when she came out, it was uniquely different. And so I was like, it has to be like nothing else. Like, I don't want to compare it to, that's why it's hard to pitch too, because I don't want to just go, it's like this meets this, because it almost takes away from the concept. It does make it easier to digest and understand, but it also kind of, in a way, takes away from the concept. So it is a high concept. It is a little bit harder to understand, but I think because it is so unique and different, when you pick up this book and you start reading it, you're going to be floored because you're not going to be able to compare it to anything. The
Yeah.
sensibility, the adventure, the high concept, it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen before. So I'm thinking that I got to be patient, and that's maybe where this in-demand thing will come into play.
Yeah.
If I can keep educating people on the concept and keep getting them in, it might be a harder sell, and it might take me a little longer, but it'll be worth it, because I think anything that's truly unique and different, I don't think the general public automatically get right in and go, yeah, let's do this. Let's go and get behind this.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes it takes a little bit of marketing and push. And then, once you get enough people and like there's a groundswell, and then, then it just takes care of itself. Like no one knew what Star Wars was until the Star Trek guys started embracing it and getting the word out. And then they made such a stink. And such a hoopla, I should say, the general public actually got notice of it and then started going to see Star Wars. And then before you know it, it becomes a national treasure, or world treasure, actually.
Absolutely. And like I said, I mean, for someone to come up, I mean, you really could see you put the time into developing this.
Yeah, how long did it take to develop this? Because what was it, 2004? If I'm staying corrected, is that when the first publication came out?
Yeah, but I kind of started even before that. So I'd say probably around 2002, I started putting energy into it, because that's when I got fired from Marvel, was 2002. So that's when my energies went into this. So yeah, I think just Billy knows these things never go away. When you're a creative person, you can put these things in the back burner, but they never fully go away. So. Right. I've always, kept sketchbooks and kept drawing and developing these characters over the years. And so with this new platform and this phenomenon that's happening right now with crowdfunding, it just seemed like the perfect time to, do a new book, tell a new story.
Yeah. And I mean, guys, please go to that. Andy's been putting the links in. We've been putting the links in because the clock is ticking on this campaign.
Yeah, I thought we had 5 days, but I think Nile said 4 days.
4 days. Yeah.
4 days left. You're already funded, but let's. But
really, the 2.5. That's the ideal place.
That's what we need. Yeah, we need 25 for it, and you'll get it. You'll get it for sure.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm hoping. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had you have 4 new backers since we started the show, so that's good. So you're up to 206 backers now. You were at 202, I think, when we first had it up. So that's excellent. So anyone out there that's, if you guys are watching the show and back, thank you so much. We have a question from Brian Blevins. At Crowdfunded Comics, can you ask Art what he thinks is missing from crowdfunded comics becoming something that would have a secondary value to it?
Secondary.
In other words, Art, if you see a lot of books, we sell a book, say, for $20, $25. On the secondary market, either through eBay or Amazon, they're like $10 are going for sale. How can we keep the value of what the fans actually buy our books for? And if they do want to sell it, I mean, what if somebody does want to resell the book? How can you? What do you think do you think if there's any way that we could do that to keep the demand up? So when a book is on the secondary market, if somebody does want to, say someone buys, your book, say they bought Black and White, and now they want to put it on eBay, right? And they want that book to sell even more. What do you think is a way, like regular comics? You buy an issue of Catwoman.
Right.
2 months, 6 months later, it's now worth $20.
Yeah, I think that it can either go up or down, and it's all based on the perceived value, right? Just like original artwork or anything like that. And I think on some level, we as the creators set the price for it, but I think the consumer does as well. So if somebody thinks, the new She issue that you're putting out now, and once they get it, if they think that it's worth $10 on the secondary market, or if it's worth $50, on the secondary market, it's whatever the market will bear, and the perceived value of it. But this is why I do a lot of stretch goals and I do a lot of interaction. And we didn't even talk about the work in progress sketchbook, which is themed to the Chrono Mechanics idea, is that this is the only place you can get this experience. this is the only place. The secondary market, who cares? Because all these stretch goals, all these things that make this fun are only in this campaign. Right. Because it's not going to be anywhere else. Because all these books, all these Chrono books, come with a accompanying trading card. So there's a lot of extras and there's a lot of fun stuff that happens along the way in these campaigns. So it's kind of an experience, and it also has all these other aspects to it. So I don't know. That's a really difficult question.
I think it really depends too on the popularity of your book. It has to take off to become, I think, of something of value. And I'm trying to guess this, and I actually see a comment from the Mob Seat, which is something I was kind of leaning towards too, because the Mob Seat says, I think he meant for a book to have a future in comic book stores or grocery stores. I'm on, and I've had conversations actually with Brian Blevins about this, is in the crowdfunding realm, there's still yet to be like that book, like that big book that's really just like a value and this and that, where obviously you get that with some of the mainstream stuff. And what do you, to me, my answer was always, well, the book has to be popular enough. There has to be, that book has to bring something so unique that it is forced, it goes from crowdfunding and is literally forced, to distribution and other things because the demand is so high. That it would have to be something that really would take off. And then again, I would say market value and where the market's focused, because your book could be really hot for X amount of time, but then if trends change, stories slow down. I mean, that book that retains so much value could then be worth, it could be in the dollar bin, at that point. So I don't think it's fair to really judge a crowd-funded scene book to have the popularity of some of the mainstream stuff, because the new books don't retain value like the older books do.
But also like what I'm trying to do with my crowdfunding is to create a one-of-a-kind collectible book as well. Yes. So these are books like with bells and whistles, and if we can get to some of these stretch goals with Chrono Mechanics, we have foil, we have all kinds of enhancements and things that we want to make this book very, very special.
Yes.
And also I want to add more pages. So if we can get to those stretch goals, we can add more pages. So we're kind of creating the book based on what the consumer wants and how much consumer support we get. So it is kind of being developed in front of people. And one of the things is what I'm trying to do anyways, and I think some of the other guys are as well, is to try to create one-of-a-kind collectibles. And one of the things that I've been thinking of doing with Black and White Volume 2 is, since we did cut it off when we did, is I'm going to talk to Peter Samedi, and I have been talking to some other people about doing a standardized version, kind of a newsprint version of Black and White. So I can have my bells and whistles like Premiere Edition, which was already funded and everything, and then we can do the more standard kind of version, and maybe less bells and whistles and maybe less of stretch goals and freebies and things like that. So it's kind of like a streamlined a campaign that we could run, and maybe that book then could go on to the direct market, or can get into stores.
And you could sell them for, say, I'm not pricing it, but you could sell those books for they're $5, $4.99.
Yeah, if you can do the volume, then you can bring down those numbers. So it's one of the things I was kind of thinking with Chrono, because if I can't get the print run, if I can't get those numbers that we were talking about, the 25K, what happens is your print runs become, the lower the numbers, the more expensive it is. Yeah. So most of the numbers I did early on was like 1,000, at least 1,000 books printed. So if we do 500, then what am I going to do with 500 extra books? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I run another campaign, or do I put that out in the direct market? And if so, the direct market isn't going to be able. It's not a lateral comparison, because the books we're doing are high-end collectible books. And like the Marvel DC books are pretty much standardized, floppy comics. They're not graphic novels. They're not all the the bells and whistles type of stuff that we're doing.
Yep.
Well, I think that's what's cool though about the whole crowdfunding scene, because you're given, like, as a consumer, you're given like a menu, right? So depending on, what you can afford or what you want, I mean, you can kind of personalize it because you have those levels, right? If you just want the book because you want to read it, you get the $20 level or whatever it is. I'm just using an example.
Yeah.
But then, like, if you want a piece from that artist, then you can scroll down. Or if you want original artwork from the book that you're buying, you can purchase that. So it's kind of, to me, it's like two totally different markets.
I think so. I agree
very
with you. Yeah.
different. It's almost like a niche market. Like, it's like we're the boutiques. We're coming. Here's our product. How much of our product do you want? The
Yeah.
more you invest, the more you get. And
it's a boutique. It's a boutique in the way like it's specifically like crafted from Billy or from myself or Ethan or whoever. Like, these are really personal, not just the campaigns, but the way we sell ourselves on YouTube and our products on YouTube and everything. This is where Marvel and DC will never ever be able to compete with us. Stuff that we're doing right this very minute, they will never be able to do, because they would have to pay those people to come on shows like this. Because I don't know, if I was working for Marvel and DC and they asked me to do this stuff, I would say, what's in it for me? I'm a businessman. If I'm going to spend an hour or 2 hours talking on your YouTube channel, you're going to get the benefits, but what am I going to get? Whether your book sells or not, I mean, I get some back end as far as royalties, but other than that, I don't have the same investment as Marvel or DC does. But with this stuff, with Chrono Mechanics and Black and White, I do.
Yeah. And I've invited and spoke to certain people, and they're very polite about it. It was like, oh yeah, cool. What is it? Blah, blah, blah. Well, my fee is, and it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to pay you to come on. Sorry.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, I won't say names. They were polite about it, but for because of the popularity and everything, I mean, for them, time is money. If they're going to take time out, that prohibits them. Maybe that's, now they spent an hour with me, so now they got to lose an hour of sleep because now they got to draw for another hour. Or whatever they need to do. So I understand that, because it is
really
business.
Are that tight.
Oh, exactly. And for anyone that knows, I mean, making comic books, it's fun. You have a passion. That's great. Do you want to make a lot of money doing it? Of course, everyone does. Is it a business? Most importantly, yes, it is a business. You can make your livelihood doing this. So unfortunately, you can't always give someone the answer. You can kind of help nudge them in the right direction. But, your time's your time, and, you make your bacon the way you make your bacon,
I love bacon. I can't eat as much as I used to be able to eat. My daughter's obsessed with bacon.
So are a few. I'd like to touch base on this. There are a few comments in there. Having an animated style book that's more adult oriented. A lot of people are saying, content. Why does art have an adult content in a cartoony book that might limit its appeal?
Well, I think it's more like Simpsons, or it's more like Futurama, or Family Guy, or these type of things where there's adult jokes, there's some adult
innuendos,
themes that they get into, but like younger people can enjoy them too. And even the Tex Avery cartoons and the Looney Tunes stuff that we used to watch when we were kids, there were sexual innuendos all over those cartoons. There was stuff that just went right over our little heads, right? But as an adult, you watch those and you go, well, that's a penis, that's a metaphor for sex, that's, you see all that stuff and you just go, okay, it connects to people on different levels. So I think that Chrono kids can read it and they'll enjoy the fun action adventure, over the top humor of it. But I think adults can read it as well and get something out of it, because when I say Doug is a 70s rock star, he is with all the vices of that time, sex, drugs, rock and roll. This guy's a raunchy rocker. So, there's some raunchy humor in there. But I don't think the kids are going to go like, oh, like what, what is that? I think it'll just go right over their heads.
Yeah. So would you consider it an all age or tweens? I mean, what do you gear this your book for to help any of the viewers better understand?
In the on the Indiegogo page it says PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
So, like PG-13, there can be an F-bomb in a PG-13 movie. So I think it just depends, and PG-13, more adult situations, things like that. I think it's just going to depend on the parent and the child. So
Gotcha.
it's what you want to raise your kid with. If you think that your kid's okay with watching Futurama, I think this book will be perfect for them, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
I loved
All right.
Futurama. Still do. Still do, man. It's great.
Well, speaking of time, we've gone
Zoidberg!
almost what? We've gone
Zoidberg!
almost 2 hours.
2 hours? What are you talking about? Only an
Two?
hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, really? That's it? We didn't
Well,
go
we
on
were
at 9?
late getting on.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Well, we told Art we'd be an hour.
No,
That's
no, no. I
cool.
don't mind you guys. I'm in full shill mode. Like we only have, a couple more days
Yeah.
to educate people and let them know about Chrono Mechanics. And I appreciate, crowdfunding comics. I appreciate you guys for giving me this opportunity to shill my book, to get it out there and
Oh,
to talk
definitely.
it up.
And so
Well,
let
that's a
me,
fan. Yeah.
we're going to wrap this up. But before we do, what, as someone that entered, because I always wanted to do this. This is a dream show of mine, right? I want to get the guys on, who put Image together. I like having Brian Polito on. I like having, I love, working with Billy. Yourself. I mean, you're at an era where all you guys took independent comics, right? You like blew up into comics, and actually, you guys took DC and Marvel and you literally pushed them aside. You pushed them aside, and you guys conquered the hill. And now you all are back again. Like, all right, you know what? Your mountain's
Yeah.
getting a little too big. And, you guys are coming in like giants, just freaking. You're knocking down the rocks. You're bringing that mountain down. You truly are, because you're pushing and paving a way for a whole new generation of creators. I I mean, what are you seeing? The comparison. I mean, if all the tools you have today, you can literally make your comic for cheap, like not too much, right? And then back then, you didn't have the computers that do what they do today. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have Kickstarter. You didn't have Indiegogo. You didn't have Adobe with the software that for $20 a month you can get all the best that Adobe offers, and amongst other things, and all these new digital things. I mean, how do you compare the independent scene of the early '90s to the independent scene of the 20 teens?
Well, I think the biggest difference for me and what excites me right now is what we're doing at this moment in time. Like what you're doing now, and what Billy's doing, and what we're doing is we're getting to talk directly to the people that are going to back our books. Like this is unheard of.
Yeah.
Like in the day they had like letters columns or stuff like that, but it's very stilted and it's very like, because like in the old days you'd have 3 months ahead of time, so you'd be working on the one book, but the 3 months prior to that, that's the book on the newsstand. And so everything's kind of, it's not immediate. The feedback is not immediate. It takes time in the old days. And so now they're typing right now. They're asking us questions like this.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to know like this is crazy technology, you guys. We're living in Dick Tracyville here. I mean, this is pretty amazing stuff. And Image didn't have that. Like Image couldn't take this stuff directly. They still had to go through Diamond. They still had Wizard Comics. They had to go through other avenues. And Wizard played nice with Billy and I and a lot of the Image guys. But trust me, man, those ads, some of that stuff was really expensive. That magazine was not cheap to advertise in. So even Image was, I mean, not Image, but Wizard magazine was quite costly to advertise in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like you're saying, right now, it's as much energy as we want to put out there. If we want to do a YouTube show, we want to go to social, media and get the word out. We can, and it's just, it doesn't cost us anything. It's just time. It's time invested, and as much energy as we want to put into it as we can, and that's basically the bottom line. So I think the coolest aspect of this new movement that's happening is just being able to interact with people directly.
Mm-hmm. It makes the whole
Outstanding.
experience more personal. Do you think this
Outstanding.
is a new golden age for independent creators?
Oh hell yeah! I that's why I'm here. I've made no bones about it from the very get-go on Ethan's stream. I say this is the new paradigm. This is Image Comics. And the reason I keep saying YouTube and these platforms is because Marvel and DC cannot do this. They can't. We've already gone over that. They'd have to pay people to come on and do these things.
Yeah.
So we can do this. And that's the biggest difference, and that's the biggest asset I think we have over them.
Yeah.
And I do want to just for my statement before about the couple creators that were like this is my fee. I mean, I was talking to some heavy hitters in the industry, but more than not, we've had a lot of amazing creators that we have scheduled that are taking their time out. They're not asking for a dime, and they think it's really cool because you know what? They after you explain it to them, they're like, "That's the future, dude. Yeah, I'll come on the show." And they'll talk crowdfunding. Some of them haven't even done it yet, but they have things in the works because they know where it's headed.
Yeah.
They see the writing on the wall, and obviously we all have to pay our bills, so we do what we have to do, right? We'll work where we have to work. You got to pay your bills. Most people have children. You got a roof over your head. Money doesn't just magically appear in our wallets and our bank accounts, but they know that it's time to maybe start bringing stuff into their own hands.
Yeah, just having control of your own destiny and taking advantage of the technology that we have right now. And basically, nothing against Marvel and DC, but they are so entrenched in the way of doing business, and it's a way of doing business that I've had a problem with for a long, long time now. I remember talking to Gareb Shamus, God, 20 years ago or whatever, about these things, about Diamond and about the distribution and about the way this is all done. We're not bringing any new readers in. We're not really advertising. We're not getting into the mainstream. There isn't even a comic book shop in my area. I have to drive 2 communities over to get to a really small, and it's a trading card store. It's not even a comic shop.
Wow.
So this is really tough when when I was a kid, like I said, Batman, I had access to comic books, at supermarkets all over the place. And so these are problems, and I don't think Marvel and DC, to be honest, are going to be able to come up with the solution. So I think people like Billy and myself are kind of heading in the right direction, because I do think that this is the way, at least for people like us, are going to be able to get our books out there and to be more successful.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys. So, why don't we? So, again, Art, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm just going to jump in really quick. We're going to do our crowdfunding call out tonight. This is a great pick that came from Frank Amazing. Actually found this and emailed it over to me, and it's called Freedom Fighter. This is on Kickstarter, and I like it because it brings back that superhero, bring back the superhero book, which for me personally, I love a good superhero comic. And, if you can, head on over, check it out. Illustrations are great. Awesome artwork.
Oh, yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah.
A nice, unique style, all its own. Coloring's good. So yeah, if you guys can get in, it's a fairly new campaign. I believe they're about 10 days in. This is from Heitkemper. Check it out. I'll play the video for you guys real quick so you can check this out. So there you have it, guys. Check it out if you can. Back it, share it. They're looking for a goal of $800, and currently a little over halfway there. 21 backers, 19 days to go, and let's get some good superhero comics out there, man.
Yeah,
I love a good superhero comic. So again, Mr. Art Thibert, thank you so much for being on the show. Please tell everyone how they can, stay in the know with what you're doing. How can they follow you?
I'm on social media. It's always just my name. Just type in my name. And the main thing is come by my YouTube channel, sub. I'm really trying to get that thing going strong. And last week, because of the purge, man, I lost a bunch of subs. So from what I hear, they're also bumping people that are legit, like not just bots or whatever they're saying. So make sure that you are still subbed. If you like this kind of, subject matter and you like hearing me talk forever about comic books and stuff, because I can talk forever about comic books. It is definitely a passion of mine. So yeah, come by my YouTube, sub, and like anything, any of the videos that come up. Yeah, there's a lot of videos there to choose from. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Rock and roll, man. You're on your way, buddy. You're on your way. Look at me telling Art Thibert he's on his way.
You'll make it to the big time someday,
you'll
young
make
fella.
that 25G, and all of our crowdfunding family out here, which you are now part of. Anytime you want to come on, please let us know you're on. You're a fantastic guest. But all of our friends out there and family out there, can you guys, if you can't pledge for Art's, for Art's campaign, please share it on social media. All right, and subscribe to his YouTube channel, and let's get the word out for it. Yes, and let's give him a nice Christmas.
Yes, please. And also like this video. Give it a thumbs up, because that helps you guys.
Yeah. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to Art's channel. Keep support, just like we keep supporting these crowdfunding books and projects, help support the shows that are still trying to be a platform to bring these creators to the fans, to give them different outlets for them to communicate with you guys. And I will have to say, Billy, I am very excited for our future platform that's in the works and the call-in feature.
Ooh.
Yes.
A call-in feature.
Call-in feature. Very excited.
What is that? What is that, Billy? What do you have there? What is that thing?
I don't like with the cameras. I'm sorry. I swear that when we were watching the video, it's a tripod, a little one, and I don't like how the camera's so far back. And
I thought it was some kind of weird drawing
stuck in his fly.
Yeah, I thought it was some weird drawing tool or something to make circles or something. Because I'm always looking for a new way to make circles.
I'm sorry. It's something I'm going to set up, and I don't know.
It's called ADHD. Don't worry about it.
Don't mind me. I'm
shiny.
Thank you.
No
Pretty
problem.
much, right?
And tomorrow night, guys, join us. We have John Hervey and Super Looper himself, a crowdfunding comic legend.
Yes.
And he's been on the show before as a guest. Great guy, Mr. Rod Looper. So tomorrow night at 9 p.m. join them. We're going to be talking about their current Indiegogo for Black Tiger Legacy of Fury.
Excellent.
So everyone, as always, thank you so much for enjoying another episode of Crowdfunding Comics. We love you all. We can't wait to see you tomorrow night. And Mr. Art Thibert, thank you so much for coming on the show. And like Billy said, you're always welcome on. So keep us in the loop with what's going on, and please let us know when your next project is in the works.
I will. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, great, guys. Art. Great to see you, my friend. Thank you for coming on.
And to our great
thanks to everybody in the chat, too.
Yep. Thank you, guys, for coming, joining our show. And all right, fellas, I bid you adieu and a tally-ho.
All right, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Tally-ho.
Good night, guys.
Tally-ho!
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 Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell. You may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at Crowdfund Comics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.